Alright, so last week we began my quest into looking into my top 30 favorite films of all time. We talked about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse last week. Now we're moving on to number 29 on my list. My 29th favorite movie of all time, Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. This is a film that is, of course, brought to us by Stanley Kubrick. Now, even though he's made a whole lot better, more influential film stuff like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, some of the greatest movies ever made, this one is my personal favorite of his. And fittingly, it's the last film he directed before his untimely passing, before the movie came out. Story here is that you have Tom Cruise playing a doctor who becomes obsessed with having a sexual encounter after his wife, played by Nicole Kidman, who were together at the time as a husband and wife. She admits to having sexual fantasies about a man she met and chastising him for dishonesty in not admitting to his own fantasies. What follows is him setting off into this unfulfilled encounters with these different people, including a dead patient's daughter and a hooker. But when he visits a nightclub and a pianist friend of his, Nick Nightingale, is playing, he learns about a secret sexual group and decides to attend one of their congregations. However, he quickly learns he is well over his head and finds that he and his family are threatened. And for me, what makes this movie work is that it takes a look at how you handle marriage when you have fantasies about sex with somebody else, or when your significant other tells you about a fantasy they had about somebody else, and it doesn't sugarcoat the details. It gives you the flat-out, cold, hard truth about how you can approach the situation without going overboard. And the questions of how to handle love, marriage, and fantasies the main couple have all that are being brought up in this movie, and for the most part are brought up well. It's not afraid to step up the ante and let you think about both the logistical and unrealistic theories of each situation that happens in the film. It's a film that makes you ask a lot of questions and lets you figure out what the answers to those questions might be, not giving a definitive answer in the process, and just letting you, the viewer, decide on what happens next. It's good when movies let you do that. That's part of the fun of going to see movies like this. You know, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, they work off each other very well here. It's one of the only few times in the history of film where working with your then spouse doesn't affect the film itself. When a couple who are dating or are married in real life together and work together in film, most of the time the results can be very catastrophic, but here, it works very well here. You also have the late Sidney Pollack giving probably one of his strongest performances of his career, although his last conversation with Tom Cruise's character doesn't really convey the message that I think the film was trying to pull off, but it's still a great performance by him. The music choices are great in here. The score is very good. The classical music is nicely put into the film, and it doesn't feel forced. The opening theme of the film is one of the most memorable parts of the movie. I mean, even Chris Isaac's Baby Did a Bad Thing is placed in the film pretty well in one of the more famous scenes of the movie. And for a movie that's almost 3 hours long, it never feels like it's getting boring. It moves very fast. There's a part where it does get very slow, and except for that one scene, you never really get bored with the film itself. It moves at a good enough pace, and it just keeps you invested in the film. And the film is just so very much Kubrick-esque. I mean, you can watch this movie and tell that it came from a Stanley Kubrick. It has those same type of camera angles, the same type of writing, the same type of direction that you'd expect to see from a Kubrick film, something that Steven Spielberg couldn't really copy with AI, artificial intelligence, even though that was a project that Kubrick was set to do beforehand. But the film really felt like a movie that was made in the days before digital and HD came into the picture. I mean, and became the standard norm for the movies that we have today. This was made in 1999, just as this was becoming more prominent. And this film feels like something that was shot in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, it has that look to it. It's really great to look at. Now, to be fair, there is one problem with the movie, and that does get on my nerves. And I think most people would agree with me on this. The piano bit with that just one note over and over again. It does get really annoying once it starts playing it over and over again throughout the film. It's trying to be haunting and chilling, but like the score is, but it just feels really uninspired and kind of a little pretentious, if you will. I mean, it just kind of feels like it's on that front, but I also thought the Secret Society sequence was a little bit too long. It felt really unnecessary. It doesn't really serve a purpose but to show off all these new people and them just having these crazy orgies because they are just sex starved. I mean, it doesn't really serve a full purpose. At least to me it didn't. I could see where they were going from it, but they never really went full on into where I was hoping they were headed to. To be fair, it is very nightmarish. Like, it's a very nightmarish setting where you dream about great things and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose as you find out you're trapped in this unfortunate setting. So I guess that kind of makes the sequel serve more of a purpose than what I probably thought it did, but that's just my take on it. But it does have its problems, but Eyes Wide Shut on the whole, I think, is a very solid and very interesting film that asks a lot of questions about love and marriage, asks you about the situations of what's going on. Boasts with these great performances by Cruise and Kidman, great direction by Stanley Kubrick, and keeps its stories focused so you can keep up with it. It's my personal favorite film from Stanley Kubrick. If you haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut, go check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. So that's going to wrap this one up. So if you want to see what I had to say about Into the Spider-Verse, check out the little link right here. Subscribe to the channel if you like this. Hit the like and subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next week. So until then, take care.